My name is Brandy. I'm the Reconditioning Manager in Sheffield, and today's workshop is going to focus on reducing and preventing knee pain. Valgus collapse during prolonged positions such as side sleeping, during repetitive activities like running or under high loads such as squatting are a common source of knee pain among soldiers. So what is a valgus knee collapse? It is when the knee moves towards the midline, deviating out of neutral and putting tension on the musculature on the lateral portion of the leg. Most often this occurs under load and causes some damage. So we're going to explore the two primary causes for a valgus knee collapse, so a tight TFL and weak hip abductors. Looking at TFL tightness as a source of valgus collapse, what is the TFL? It is a fusiform muscle originating on the pelvis and inserting into the IT band. It's a primary hip flexor and stabilizer during a single leg stance. It has roles in internal rotation, hip abduction, and produces loading forces on the IT band for acceleration. How do we know if our TFL is tight? You're going to find a wall, place your glutes, your shoulders and your back against the wall, feet together about 2 inches away from the wall. From there, you're going to contract your glutes and your abs with a posterior tilt of your pelvis, trying to flatten the low back against the wall. If you are unable to get that back flat, relax, move your feet up to shoulder width, and repeat the same process. If you are now able to get that back flat, there's a good possibility that a tight TFL is the source of problems with your knee and that valgus collapse. We will explore some stretches that you can use. We see two common stretches for tightness along the outside of the leg. While both of these are great stretches on their own, they don't specifically target and impact the TFL in the way we would like, but we're still going to cover them today in ways to make them a little bit more TFL specific. So the first one is your classic IT band stretch, crossing one foot in front of the other, bending the knee, and pressing the hip towards the side. So I'm pressing towards the wall. For most people, if you have a chronically tight TFL, you are going to have an anterior tilt of your pelvis, which is already putting TFL into a shortened position and then short again. To correct this and have more TFL involvement, make sure you tip the pelvis back before you come into that position. The second one is the spinal twist with pressure. So we'll drop our knees to the side, use the bottom leg to put pressure on the top, bringing it further down. The problem with this position is we're putting TFL into two contractile positions of hip flexion and internal rotation. So while you are getting stretching occurring, it is already in a shortened position and minimal lengthening and long-term effect is going to occur with these. So let's look at some more targeted stretches for TFL. So the first one is in a rotated lunge. You're going to kneel. So if I'm trying to get the left TFL, I'm going to put the right knee and hip at 90 degrees. We're in that lunge, so we're going to shift our weight forward, taking up the slack of the hip extension. Then rotate trunk towards the right and push that hip out to the left to pick up any remaining tension through your hip and your TFL. And then all you're going to do is you're going to contract that right hamstring, trying to pull everything forward, adding a tilt. And hold for 30 seconds. So switching and doing the same thing on the other side. 90-90 to start. Pick up the hip extension by shifting my weight forward. Rotation and dropping that hip out to the side. And then contracting to increase the stretch. We can also do a 4-point stretch. This way. So you're starting in that quadruped position. Wrists, elbows, shoulders are stacked, knees and hips are stacked. From here, we're going to straighten the knee, contract the glutes, and extend the hip. Pelvis is still in neutral, so no rotating and opening. We're going to externally rotate the hip by pointing our toes out 45 degrees. Still no twisting in the back and the pelvis. And then pull that leg across midline. Don't let your hip drop out to the side. Everything stays nice and neutral. So from the other side, extend, rotate, pull across. And third, standing option. So I'm going to step my right foot back so that I'm in a bit of a hip extended position. Shift my weight to the front leg. Rotate my foot 45 degrees, still keeping the pelvis in neutral, and slide that foot behind the other one and drag the hips further forward. Still in neutral. Another tactic you can use for loosening the TFL is some self-myofascial release with the foam roller or the lacrosse ball. For detailed instructions on how to do that, please contact one of our fitness instructors. If you've gone through these stretches and you're getting some relief, but the pain continues to come back, the tightness continues to come back, we encourage you to go see physio and have a proper anatomical assessment. Make sure there's not something structurally causing this. The second common cause of valgus collapse that we often see is a weakness in the hip abductors, most notably the glute med. So this is responsible for stabilizing single leg stance and provides movement of your thigh away from the midline. Weakness here often presents as a pelvic slant, which we will cover momentarily, that valgus knee collapse that we talked about, and a swayed arched back. It is also commonly responsible for low back pain as well as knee pain. So a couple of ways to test the strength of your glute med. If you think about your force test, find the tops of your hips, place in front of a mirror, place your hands on your hips, make sure they're nice and level to begin with. If they're already off, your pelvic alignment's probably not where it should be, and you should speak with physio about that. If your hands are level, shifting your weight to one side and lifting the other knee, your hands should stay level. If you drop or you have to hike to shift your weight, that indicates a weakness. Another way of measuring it is coming up onto an elevated surface. Same thing, find the tops of your hips, and all you're going to do is drop that front foot, slide the front foot off, keeping it the same level as the foot you're standing on. Hands stay level, we're good. You have to pop your hip out to balance, that is a sign of weakness. Or if you have to lean, that is a compensatory movement and needs to be addressed before it causes more pain in your back. So we've brought Jana, our fitness and sports instructor, in to help us demo a couple of strengthening exercises. So we're going to start with the dumbbell fire hydrants. We'll start without a dumbbell just to get used to the motion. She is going to stack her wrists, elbows, and shoulders, her knees and hips. Keeping her pelvis neutral and pointed towards the ground, she's going to draw a circle. We'll go either direction. And if we want to make things just a little bit harder for her, I'm going to tuck a weight in the back of her knee to hold. Same plan. Grab that weight out of your way. The next exercise Jana will demonstrate for us is a lateral pulse. So still in that quadruped position with the pelvis neutral pointed towards the ground. She's going to extend her foot towards you and pulse. She's not twisting her hips, twisting her back, and opening up nice and neutral. Thank you. Next we will do a glute bridge. Keeping her hips nice and high, she's going to start into a march without letting her hips drop or rotate. we want to make this a little bit harder for her, I'm going to throw a band around her feet, adding some resistance as she lifts up and down. Thank you, Tana. From there, we'll have Jenna roll onto her side, and we're going to demonstrate a clamshell. For this one, you're going to be side lying with your hips stacked, feet stacked, knees stacked, and the goal is to move your knee as far away from the bottom knee as you can without twisting into your back and rolling your hips. Maintain that stacked position. If we wanted to make it harder, we'll add one of our mini band loops around the knees. We'll move into some standing exercises. We're going to start with a very low box for the isolated step up. So the common step up, we're usually pushing off with the down foot and making that one do the work. For the purposes of this exercise, the foot that is on the box is the one that's going to do the work. The other one is just for balance on the way up and down. As she comes up and comes down, making sure that her knee stays in neutral. She is not dropping into that valgus collapse. She is not leaning her body to the side. If we want to make it harder, you can add a knee lift at the top. And that foot will come straight back down without touching. Angle from the front so you can see what her leg is doing and holding that neutral position as she moves through the motion. Next up is the Curtsy Lunge. Keeping her pelvis pointed forward, she's going to step across midline behind and bring that knee towards the ground. And come back to a neutral stance, switching sides. Last but not least, we're going to do a monster or box walk. So we'll put a band is going to go around. It's just above or below the knees. If you want to make it even harder, you can throw a second tighter band at the ankles. We're working in a small space, so Jenna's just going to do one step in each direction, leading with the knee as she moves forward, sideways, and backwards. Nice low athletic position. If you're doing this in a larger space, you could certainly take more steps in each direction before changing. Thanks, Jenna. You're welcome. These exercises, if your glutes are not weak, could be incorporated into your warm-up movement prep just to fire so that you're ready when you start lifting into a heavy squat. If you are finding you do have a lot of weakness, high reps of these as part of your workout or finishers. So today we've covered a few test stretches and strengthening exercises you can do at home to prevent or reduce valgus collapse during your training. If you are experiencing pain at the knee, hip, or back with any of these exercises, or not finding an improvement in your valgus collapse, please speak with your physiotherapy department for an assessment. If you would like more exercises or coaching on these exercises, please contact your reconditioning department. Have a wonderful day.